Oh, oh, hi, I'm Marc. I've been a professional artist for 420 years and now I teach art for a living. In this week's episode of YouTube Art School, I'll explain the four essential art skills you should be prioritizing as an artist if you want to improve real fast and keep it up for a long time. That's pretty challenging. It's the difference between reaching your goals or failing at it, like most unfortunately do. But that won't be you if you keep watching. Also, new studio. Say whoa. Definitely a work in progress. It'll probably keep changing, over the next couple of weeks as I settle in. And I definitely need to do something about this crazy echo. Pretty bad, but it'll get better. Oh, quickly, let's get this class started. All right, class is in session. Pay attention. Over the years, from my own experience and from personally mentoring hundreds of students, the answer to all the big questions that I had as a younger artist now seem mostly obvious in retrospect. With time and experience, everything tends to make more sense. So I want to share what I've discovered with you. Hopefully help you benefit from that experience. What are those game-changing skills you should absolutely always keep in mind to get ahead and keep getting ahead when everyone around you starts quitting art and giving up on their dreams? I'll go through my discoveries as I let this time lapse of some new drawings play in the background so you get something fun to watch at the same time. Maybe even pick a trick or two. Anyways, let's start with the first essential art skill. This one focused on your education. Let's call it openness. And by the way, I'll have all four marked in the video timeline so you can easily refer back to them later. Take notes! Now, what is openness in the context of art? I tend to refer to it more when it comes to education, like I said. When you learn art, it's that willingness to listen to new ideas, to learn something even though you might think you know enough. I've done this myself in the past, skipping over tutorials or not paying close attention to classes, thinking like I knew better, I knew enough. But let me tell you, there's no biggest hurdle to your growth as an artist than being closed-minded. If you ever met or know personally other experienced professional artists, it's a common skill they all share. Most of them are open to new techniques, open to learning from others, even though they themselves might already be at the top of their industry. I found this pretty striking a couple years ago, but now it all makes so much sense. They got this good, this successful because they were open-minded. It's what helped them accumulate all that knowledge. I categorize it as a skill because you can learn to get better at this. I sure did. My ego used to get in my way and it took many years to let that go and turn myself into an art sponge. Just like how you were learning as a kid, like no preconceptions. The sooner you do the same, the better. Now, if you're not sure if you're open-minded or not, well, if you skip ahead or skim through educational art videos on YouTube or anywhere else, there's a good chance you're not. Uh-oh. You've got work to do. Now, the next essential skill for artists is simplification. This one is focused on your applied skills while doing art. Simplification is what we have to go through to learn anything, of course, always, starting with the basic concepts, the easy stuff, and then piling on more and more complexity. But it's also how you should approach creating art, using references and deconstructing them. In last week's video, I briefly talked about gesture drawing, and this is definitely part of it. We take a complex structure like the human body or an animal or an object, and we should all get good at simplifying it, turning any reference into its most simple representation. Like Disney characters are a good example of simplification, especially the classic hand-drawn movies. Distilling reality to its most simple elements allow us more control over them. It's kind of like having to raise like 100 kids versus only 1 or 2. You'll have more impact and more control over just 2, right? You can pay more attention to each. Well, same with art. If you have fewer details, you have more of your focus on each of those details. A good exercise to practice this is to draw something from reference. Can be anything, and draw a simpler version of what you can observe. From there, draw an even simpler version of the first drawing. And maybe a third time again, diluting all the shapes down to their simplest geometric shapes. It's one of those core art skills that you won't go far without, and it's one that will eventually allow you to draw anything from imagination. Focus on simplification. Do it. Also, focus on the description of this video, where you'll find a coupon code for a big discount on my complete art education program, Art School for Digital Artists. We cover all of these things in great detail and much more. By the time you're done with the program, I guarantee you'll be able to draw anything you can imagine. That's the promise. I'm celebrating reaching 11,000 students, so make sure you use the promo code down below before the end of the month only. A link to the program in the top right corner of the screen and down in the description. All right. Plug over. Moving on to the third essential skill, balance. This one focuses on your mindset, balance between everything you tackle as an artist. I get questions about this so often from students who are, not sure if they're focusing too much on studies, too much on personal art, not spending enough time drawing, or maybe too much time. Balance is important because when you lose it, you end up in a slump. You burn out, you get an art block. I've been there many times myself, and it's not so much that you can avoid them with balance. They're almost inevitable, but you can certainly help mitigate them. I've heard many people tell me they've just completely lost interest in practicing after a big burnout, and then, too much time goes by and they never pick it up again. Even if they love art, it's a crap place to be. Let's make sure that's not you. As a general rule, I'll tell my students to focus on the fun of art. Sounds obvious, but it seems everybody forgets this eventually. If studying is not fun for you, then try to find a way to spin it so that it's more fun. It should always be about that. Maybe setting out to work on the studies with a plan that, you'll turn those studies, or the best one of them, into a finished piece afterwards. Or studying with friends on Discord. Not doing it alone. If you get discouraged because you can't do something well enough, well, maybe you're tackling too big of a challenge. Try something a little easier so that you can crush it and feel good about yourself. That's way more fun. If all you do is draw or paint, well, maybe take a breather. Stop painting. Go hang out with friends. Go walk in nature. Do something else. Poor balance is a recipe for failure. Eventually, if you do too much of something, if the balance is not there, everything becomes dull. It's not fun. Focus on balance. It's what makes art fun, and that's essential. Why do it if it's not fun? Finally, the last essential skill is observation. This one focuses on your visual library. Observation is, seeing things with your eyes like everybody else, but actually processing that image and trying to extract relevant information out of it. It's not just seeing. Two people can see the exact same thing, but extract vastly different amounts of information from them. Your observation skill essentially allows you to extract more information from what you see. At its core, that's it. If what you see is a reference image, you can extract more or less out of it. If you compare it to mining precious metals, for example, having a good observation is like having the best tools, the best sensors, the best machines to extract the metals, versus someone with poor observation being like a miner with a rusty pickaxe and, nothing else. What you'll get out of a regular mining day will be vastly different between the two. Good observation helps build your visual library faster. It increases the pace at which you absorb information. And that's the key here. Better observation, better visual library. As artists, our visual library is almost everything. Now, how do you practice this stuff? How do you improve your observation skill? Well, be curious. Observing with a purpose makes a world of difference. And that's the key word here. Purpose. If you don't need a particular bit of information, what does the brain do with it? Well, it gets discarded pretty quick. Same as a boring conversation. What are you going to take away from it? Probably not much. You'll want to focus your energy observing subjects that you're currently interested in. If you're practicing anatomy, well, looking at anatomy references will be the way to go. Pretty straightforward. Also, study the subject to understand it better. Knowledge leads to better observation. For example, if you don't know what the muscles of the body look like, to you a character might look fine, but to someone with a trained eye and a better visual library when it comes to the human anatomy, they might be able to spot a bunch of mistakes that you can't yet see. The more you learn, the more you can observe, which only goes into growing your visual library more efficiently. If you get really good at observing, you can actually draw less and get better faster. It's at the top of all art skills, it's the most important. And a fitting end to the class for today. So hope that was helpful. Openness, simplification, balance, observation. 4 core skills essential to make a complete artist. Now, do you have other skills in mind that you think should have made the list? Share them in the comments. Do it. And also, if you've been looking at these time lapses playing in the background, thinking to yourself, you'd wish you also had a sick line art brush like mine. Well, the good news is that it's part of my custom brush set that you can get for free in the video description. Can you handle all this power though? Anyways, I hope all of this helps. Let me know. Let an artist friend know. And pay the class fee of either 1 like or 1 sub. Now would be a great time to do that. It's also illegal not to. Make sure that you're also subscribed to be on time for next week's class. Until then, check out the YouTube art school playlist for a ton more art videos for maximum art gains.